I always thought the scariest thing about living alone was the silence. But silence is nothing compared to hearing something move when you know you haven't. It started on a night like any other. My apartment was small, just a single bedroom, a bathroom, and a kitchen that always smelled faintly of rusted pipes and old dust. I had gotten used to the creaks in the walls, the hum of the refrigerator, and even the occasional scratching sound from the neighbors upstairs. But that night, the sounds were different. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, scrolling on my phone, when I felt it. A shift. Not in the room itself, but behind me. Like the air changed pressure, like someone had moved just a few inches away from my back. I froze. The only light in the room came from a bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, its weak glow pooling in the corners, leaving the far side of the room swallowed in shadow. I glanced around, but of course, there was no one there. I lived alone. I convinced myself it was nothing, just my nerves, exhaustion from another long day. I put the phone down, rubbed my face, and leaned forward on the bed, and that's when I heard it. A faint rustle, a shift of fabric, like someone else had leaned forward at the exact same time. My stomach turned to ice. Slowly, I leaned back upright, and from the silence, I heard it again, the sound of someone straightening up, perfectly in sync with me. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't move. For maybe a full minute, I sat there, rigid, listening, but there was nothing. Just silence, heavy and oppressive, pressing down on me harder with every second. I tried to laugh it off, to remind myself how the mind plays tricks when you're tired. I even said out loud, "It's nothing." My own voice sounded small and shaky in the dim room. But the second I spoke, I heard another voice. The same words, the same tone, the same timing. "It's nothing," coming from directly behind me. My whole body went cold. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. My mind was screaming that it was impossible, that I had imagined it, but my body knew better. The fine hairs on my arms stood up, my chest tightened, and I could feel heat. The faint warmth of breath, brushing against the back of my neck. I sat there, paralyzed, until the bulb overhead flickered once, twice, then held steady. My shadow stretched along the floor, and that's when I noticed something that made my stomach lurch. There were two shadows on the wall, both of them sitting on the edge of the bed, both of them moving when I did. I couldn't breathe. Two shadows, mine and something else. I told myself it had to be a trick of the light, maybe the bulb throwing some strange reflection. But as I leaned forward again, slowly, shakily, both shadows moved in unison. Perfectly aligned, perfectly timed. I felt the bed dip slightly at my side. The mattress groaned, just faintly, as if more weight had been added next to me. My skin crawled. My instinct screamed, "Don't look, don't turn your head." But curiosity is cruel. Against every ounce of sense I had left, I glanced sideways. Nothing. The space beside me was empty, but I could still feel it, the tension of another body, the heaviness in the air pressing close to mine. I stood up abruptly, forcing myself away from the bed, nearly tripping over the corner of the rug. My chest heaved as I tried to convince myself this was just sleep deprivation, stress. I reached for the light switch by the door, flicked it off, then back on. The bulb hummed overhead, buzzing faintly. Two shadows, still there. This time, one of them didn't move. My legs trembled. I stepped back toward the door, never turning my eyes away from the wall. I whispered to myself, "You're imagining it, just imagining it." And then, in the silence, I heard the sheets shifting again, the sound of something crawling onto the bed. I whipped my gaze back to the mattress, empty. No one there. But the blanket rose slightly, like invisible fingers had pressed down into the fabric. I backed out of the room and slammed the door shut. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I pressed my back against the door, whispering to myself over and over, "It's not real. It's not real." But then came the knock. 3 slow knocks. From the inside, I stumbled away, nearly falling into the hallway wall. My throat went dry as I stared at the door, waiting, listening. After a long moment, silence returned. I tried calling a friend, anyone who could talk me down from this nightmare. But no one answered. The clock on my phone glared back at me, 3:17 a.m., the dead hour of the night. I decided I wasn't going back into that room. I sat on the couch in the living room, every light turned on, clutching my phone like a lifeline. Minutes dragged into what felt like hours. And then, I heard it again, the creak of my bed. But I wasn't in the room. The sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, crossing the floor. My floorboards moaning under the weight of something I couldn't see. And finally, the quiet, unmistakable sound of my own voice, from inside the bedroom, calling out my name. When I heard my own voice calling my name from inside the bedroom, every hair on my body stood on end. It wasn't an echo, it wasn't a trick, it was me, my exact tone, my exact cadence, whispering through the door. I froze, clutching the phone tighter, my pulse slamming against my skull. My first thought was to run, grab my keys, leave the apartment, never come back. But something about that voice, the way it stretched my name, almost pleading, it rooted me in place. Slowly, I walked back toward the bedroom door. My hand hovered over the handle. I told myself, if it sounds like me, then it's just me. It has to be me. But my stomach churned with a truth I didn't want to face. Before I could move, the handle turned on its own. I stumbled backward as the door creaked open. The light from the hallway spilled inside, but it seemed to stop at the threshold, swallowed by a darkness far too thick for a small room. And then, something stepped out. It looked like me. Same face, same clothes, same trembling hands. But its smile, God, its smile was wrong. Too wide, stretching ear to ear. Its eyes glimmered, not with fear but with hunger. It tilted its head, perfectly copying my own nervous twitch. Every move I made, it repeated, delayed by a fraction of a second, like a broken mirror catching up. I whispered, "What are you?" And it whispered back, "What are you?" Its voice wasn't echoing anymore. It was mocking. I backed away, my legs shaking, until I hit the wall behind me. The thing took one slow step forward, then another. Its movements became smoother, more confident, like it was shedding the need to mimic. It leaned close, inches from my face. I could smell something foul on its breath, like mold, like rotting wood. It whispered one final thing, not in my voice anymore, but in something ancient and hollow. There's only room for one. Before I could scream, it lunged. My phone slipped from my hand, clattering against the floor. The lights flickered violently, plunging the apartment into strobing shadows. In that chaos, I felt its hands grip my shoulders, icy and strong. My vision blurred, my body heavy, as if something was pulling me inward, tearing me from myself. The last thing I remember was the sound of my own voice, my real voice, screaming from somewhere far away, muffled, like I was trapped behind glass. And then, silence. Now, when I stand in front of the mirror, I see the same face, the same eyes, the same familiar details. But deep down, I know it's not me anymore. I know because sometimes at night, when everything is quiet, I hear it, the other me, scratching at the glass, begging to be let out.
Subscribe to Horror Story Bar.